Alrighty. Intro song done. Undeafened on Discord done. And of course, the OBS transition done. Woo! Here we are, back again. Episode 108, still climbing up into the triple digits. And if you don't know me for some reason and you're watching this episode, hello. Nice to meet you. Crazy Face. Thank you. Thank you for the follow. Joining me today, of course, another new week, another new guest. Joining me today, we have a lovely, lovely individual. Would you like to introduce yourself, person vaping in the photo to the left of mine?
Hello, I represent Vape Niche.
Oh shit, dude. Hey, yo, Vape Nash. I only smoke organic flavors.
Ripping the fattest clouds, you know what I'm saying?
Of course, of course. So yeah, would you like to introduce yourself? Sorry.
It's fine. Yep, my name is Moocat. I like to do the streaming and the gamings, and I'm very excited to do this podcast with you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I'm glad to have you here. Of course, like I said, your first time on the podcast and a new guest here. So welcome. Glad to have you. And Praise Face, thank you for coming through and supporting your streamers and stuff. So I know. So I mean, like, this is your first podcast, and originally I did have another guest originally to accompany you, so you wouldn't feel as, a little, I wouldn't say awkward, but a little bit more shy or nervous, because there would be more than one person that you didn't know. And usually I like doing that for new guests, but recently people have been a little bit more busy, a little bit more, I wouldn't say flaky, but I'm asking people really last minute, which is my fault. But I mean, glad to have you on. I've heard you've been excited about this for like ever, as far as I'm concerned.
Forever. Yeah, I do see. I mean, once we like get into it, I'm pretty sure I'll shake off the nerves. But yeah, I do feel like the spotlight's kind of on me, so I'm like, get it away from me.
No, don't worry. Like there is no like spotlight here, like coming into an episode, right? The spotlight is only on a guest when I put them on blast on purpose.
Okay.
Trust me, we've had some very wild stories and very wild guests of people that I am like thankful to call my friends, both online and offline. But I mean, don't worry about it. That's what I tell people, especially like new guests and podcasts. I always tell them, we're just having a conversation. And like for new guests that I don't know as well, like yourself, I'm just like, this is just an opportunity for me to get to know you and like, get to know the people that you bring from your channel if you're a streamer. So if anything, it just happens to be a podcast that's on stream and will eventually be a video, blah blah blah. It's nothing for me. It's just like it's just talking.
Everything you say will be recorded. It will be held against you in the future.
I mean, like I said, okay. So I was telling Kat this in the beginning before we started, was as long as you don't say anything that can get either one of us canceled, we're okay. We're okay. Like we can say whatever you want. We have some of the hottest and dumbest takes here. 60% of them about food, but no, we don't keep it PG here. We keep it like rated R. No, PG-13, but sometimes rated R. But we're good. We're good. We swear here. I don't give a fuck sometimes.
Bring your parents for some guidance for this episode.
Yeah, dude. Make sure your parents approve of your Twitch account before you watch my stream. Oh my gosh. I know some people who have those like disclaimers. It's like, oh, this might not be suitable for younger audiences. Like some people have that. I'm just like, interesting. I didn't realize that was an option on Twitch. Would I ever use it? No, I would never use it. So
I was just always afraid of like, because Twitch seems to be a little strict when it comes to certain things. And like, I'm very sporadic. So when I talk, I realized that a lot of the things that I was saying wasn't like, PC. So I was like, let me just slap this mature audiences on the Twitch so I don't get in trouble.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's true. That's true. I mean, the reason why I don't use it because it's like my assumption is if you're already on the internet, you should, generally speaking, know how the internet should go, and you know how a platform should be. It's not like I'm like an adult entertainment. I'm not a porn site, guys. I'm not a porn site. Yeah, I don't need to verify that you're fucking 18 for you to watch my content, dude. I'm not doing any of that stuff on my stream.
True, true.
Like I'll make innuendos and stuff like that, and
Uh-huh.
very bromancy comments about things, but I won't. I'm not gonna do anything that I feel like you need to be a certain age to understand, because it's we live in the age of the internet, you know. So I don't. I feel like you should just be on the loop if you're on Twitch.
That is true. But I do know that because we're living in a generation where it's like, we're raising like iPad children, like they do end up tapping into things that they're not really supposed to. And then they'll be, learning things and hearing things, seeing things they're not really supposed to see. So I just think nowadays it's a little like I would be a little bit more cautious with a lot of this stuff, only for like our own protection.
That's true. That's true. I mean, also to be fair, I mean, personally, I stream in the evenings and at nights, unless it's a weekend, right? But
Mhm.
if you're a kid watching my stream at like 10 p.m., like you should be in bed already, kid. Like, why are you here?
Yeah, get the fuck back to bed.
Yo, actually, funny story. There was, I would say a kid, right? I was technically a kid because he's not like, you know, an adult. There's this kid from Israel in my chat like a couple
Oh.
months ago. He was like, "Oh, I'm 14. I like to lift and stuff, and I like to play Smash." I'm like, "Cool, dude. Welcome." Oh shit! It's right. He's right there. It's SLT. Right
Oh,
on the
let's
dot.
go.
Oh, let's go, SLT. Right there. He's like, "You're 14, right? Whatever." But the point is, it was funny because I'm just like, you understand that you understand how old you are, and that you should, certain things I say don't apply to everyone, including like certain age groups. But the point is you're on the internet, and like that's I don't know, that's my point. I don't know if you have anything else to say
Yeah.
about this. So
I mean, yeah, you're just kind of like it's basically up to you or it's your choice. But yeah, I just think people at a younger age are very curious, so that's how they tap into things that they shouldn't,
right,
Like
right, right, right.
I have a really funny I have a story.
Go ahead, go
So when
ahead.
I was younger, those like really blocky computers and they have like that old Windows and stuff.
Yep, had one of those
My
growing up.
Yeah, my parents, had, like, a desk, like a computer desk with, like, that blocky computer, and I was, like, 6 years old, and they would always be like, "Play on the computer." So I'd be on Cartoon Network, and I'd be doing all those things, but they didn't know how to put, like, a parental lock and stuff, so all these ads would pop up, and I remember there was, like, this shirtless man, and I don't know what it said because I couldn't read that well, so I was just like, "Oh, cool," and it was on the Cartoon Network website. So I click it because it's, like, glowing at me, and I see a bunch of, like, men in thongs, and I'm like, "What? What is this?" And I'm scrolling like, "What are these things?" And, like, there's, like, these, like, fat men, like, with, like, super long beards, like, in leotards, and I was like, "This is whoa." And, like, me and my five-year-old self was like, "I'm intrigued." I I'm intrigued, and I'm scared. But yeah, those at least those things are a little bit more under control now because Google and like technology has advanced over the years. But like that was like how easy it was back then to like click on things that you didn't really know and you weren't really aware of.
Right, right, right. I mean, for your case, like technically you were on the internet since you were, from this story, 5, right? But
Yeah.
would you consider yourself someone who grew up on the internet, or like smart
Mm,
devices at all?
I wouldn't say smart devices, but the area I grew up in wasn't the greatest. I grew up on the east side of Las Vegas, so like my mom and or my dad gave me like a flip phone. So I only knew how to call home and 911. So I did have technology and being on the computer, they did put restrictions as far as like how long I could be on it, but for the most part, like I used to think that TV was evil. And like I'm telling you, like, I grew up kinda like the movie, you know the movie Matilda?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you know how, like, they had, like, those TV dinner tables, and they would eat, like, TV dinners in front of a TV?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, like, I would see my parents do that all
Oh,
the time, and I was like, "Nah, I
yeah.
like to read." So, I was mostly, like, a kid
Cheers.
that basically, like, a free range kid. I went and, I played outside, and then the rule of, like, go inside when the street lights turn on and then read books, like, that's kinda how I grew up, and then I got introduced to video games at, like, 7.
I'm mad. You're going off about this story and then you say 7.
Okay,
Wow.
okay, but
Wow. Okay. I was expecting like 13 or something. Not 7.
no, 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 no. I'm just saying, like, what it applies with, like, TV time and video game time was the same as, like, computer time, you know what I mean? Like,
Oh,
I could
okay.
only be
Gotcha.
on
Yeah.
it for a couple hours because what happened was I have older brothers, and they'd play video games for a really long time. Like, my dad would tell me, like, "Hey, I played video games, but I'm not able to clock in, like, 15 hours just sitting there and doing nothing." So, when I was born, he was like, yeah, she could play video games, but give her like a 1 hour, 2 hour restriction, and then she has to play outside. Like, she has to see the sun, you know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 I get that. I get that.
Yeah.
Nice. I mean, that's interesting because for me, I sort of grew up with video games sort of around me. I have two older sisters, and they grew up with like a
Mhm.
Sega Genesis, and Nintendo 64, and a
Mm.
PS1. And like they weren't like hardcore gamers or anything. It was like I think it was just systems that we just happened to have. Um, oh, and Hunger 2K, thank you. Welcome back to the light show. Thank you for the resub. Um, but for me, I would consider myself as one of those people who grew up as the internet evolved. So
Mhm.
for me, because like I didn't go out much, my family, I was a little sheltered, just a little bit, in the sense where it's
Yeah.
like, outside of school, I didn't get to hang out with my friends too often, like after school or on weekends, and like, I would occasionally be in like a summer park league for sports as a kid, but I would say I mostly grew up in the internet. Like I was on, I don't know if you know this, but like before Twitch.tv, right? There was
Mhm.
Justin.tv, like the original gaming streaming platform.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I was on that as like a 12 or 13-year-old, and like that's how I met like my first online community of Smash players on the Smash Brawl on the Wii, and like there's an international community in North America, which is pretty
Mhm.
interesting to me. But um, then that's why I would consider myself I grew up on that, and that's why obviously there's a lot more stuff out there now than there was before. In my opinion, I agree with you with that.
Mhm.
But I feel like if you're on the internet enough, I feel like you should understand, the different, I won't say social norms because the internet is a wild, wild west of things.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you interact with enough people online, that you still get a general sense of what is trending, what is generally okay, and how to still be somewhat balanced on the internet, in my opinion. But that's just like a very personal thing for me because I grew
Yeah,
up
yeah,
with
yeah.
just so much, and there weren't as many algorithms back in the day
Right,
as there
right,
are
yeah.
now, right? Because it's you know today on the internet you could be like you can make a stance for any argument, and you can find evidence cherry picked to support your argument. You can be like, oh, coffee is healthy for you, coffee is bad for you, and you can find two very strong articles right away on Google to defend either argument. So today I feel like at least there's enough stuff out there, but it's just you have to look for it. Whereas back in the day, I feel like it was just whatever you absorbed is whatever you absorbed, and it'll balance itself out. Now it's a little more iffy, but yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, but something really crazy that I wanted to share is like when it comes to like algorithms and stuff like that, like you're definitely right. Like back then, there was no specific tracking for like your clicks and like how long you're on a page and like things that you're interested in that tracks like those different types of topics, right? So like when you take into consideration how it is now, like any stance that you take, like your phone probably knows like what your stance is and like kind of allows you to be exposed to those different types of things, right? So like I grew up in the West Coast and then later on moved to the East Coast. And
Mhm.
when I tell you that the East Coast is not as advanced as the West Coast, like the word, and I know it's banned on Twitch, so I'm just gonna spell it out. It's SIMP, like that word, right?
Shrimps, right? Shrimps.
Yeah, yeah. So that word was like a thing way back when, like on the East Coast. But then when I would be like, yeah, it's shrimp hours, you know what I mean? On the East Coast, they're like, what the fuck is shrimp? And I'm like, no, it's and they're like, you mean like sad boy hours? And I'm like, ish, yeah. And then what 2021 rolls by and everyone's saying it on the East Coast. You know what I mean? So
Right, right,
I was
right.
like, it really does depend like where you grow up. Like for instance, like, my fiancé is from Texas, so when we first talked, he was just like, "Yeah, you want, like, bubble tea?" And I was like, "What the fuck is bubble tea?" And
Oh
then I was
God.
like, "Oh, you mean boba. You mean fucking boba." And he was like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "What kinda Asian are you?" And he was like, "No, I grew up in the South, like, we call it, like, bubble tea," you know? And I was like, if someone were to fucking ask me like, "Hey, you want some bubble tea?" I'm like, "I'm gonna blow bubbles in my drink?" Or, "No, some pearls," you know? So it's also like like, there is a difference in the internet when it comes to, like, trends and stuff like that because the most trending places or things that usually pop off is, like, the Bay Area and people kinda that grew up in the West Coast, you know?
No, no, no. I agree with you. I feel like the West Coast, especially just for internet culture, is where it starts. Definitely LA and
Mhm.
Bay Area for sure. And then it just spreads everywhere. But I like
Yeah.
the regional differences for things are so funny to me. Like
Mhm.
even back in the day before the internet stuff, like the conversation of what regional people in the US call soda is like
Mhm.
soda, there's pop, there's a whole region that just calls all soda Coke for some reason.
Oh, what?
Yeah, it's like the Midwest, the North Midwest, like
Mhm.
Minnesota, Michigan. I don't know, Spalding, you're from that area generally speaking. Are you don't they call it everything just Coke? Pop gang? Yeah, yeah, they call everything pop there. I think I forgot which area calls everything just Coke for some reason.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but are you Filipino?
Yes, yes I am.
Because I knew it right when you went,
All right,
the,
so, so okay,
Uh-huh.
it's funny because like English is my first language, but
Mhm.
the way I enunciate words or like slur my words, I would say, either comes off with a half Filipino accent or like a half European English accent because that's how I learned how to do fucking English and Australian accents. It's just enunciate a lot less.
Yeah.
So yes, I am Filipino. It's funny because like I'm not even fluent, completely fluent in Tagalog either. I'm just
Mhm.
yeah, I just grew up with it. I'm first generation, so that's what happens. Oh my gosh.
I see, I see.
But yeah. Like regional differences. Okay, since we're on this conversation, I want to talk about this like quick what's that shit called? Tangent. What is your favorite boba drink or chain if
Oh,
you have more than
oh,
one?
boba chain. Are you talking like the companies or
Yeah.
like
Companies,
mm,
restaurants, cafes, shops, whatever you want to call them.
shit. Um well it honestly it honestly changes from or it varies because so in Las Vegas there's an area called Chinatown and that's
Right.
usually where like all the Asian stores are and it's really brutal. Like you got to like we're talking like family owned businesses that like you have to be different in some kind of way or your food needs to taste like, authentic like Chinese, Vietnamese, stuff like that. So like I get my boba there, but the boba chain I would say that I grew up with was like kung fu tea because
Ah.
before I used to go to like restaurants, right? And then I first tried boba at I don't know if you know this fast food place. It's called China Go Go.
Never heard of it, but go on.
Yeah, so it's like a takeout for Chinese food, and I still can't believe I fucking ate there because they were what is it? They had the grade of B for a
Hmm.
while, and then, like, they had the comments posted saying that they had dirty dishes. I don't know why. They were even featured on Dirty Dining, but we're not gonna talk about that. They're at an A now. They're flourishing. They're doing good. But, I tried Thai tea for the first time, and I remember when I first, heard of boba, I thought the name was funny, so I was, like, 10 years old, and I was like, "Sure, I'll try this." So I was drinking it, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" And I was, like, choking used to the sensation of, like, drinking and chewing at the same time, so I thought it was weird. But as I got older and, the area I grew up in isn't really Asian, like, there's not many Asian people, so I grew up with a lot of Hispanics, and, when I had an Asian group that were, at this high school, they were like, "Oh, yeah, we should all get boba." So I was kinda, like, force-fed boba in a way because they just always got boba, and I grew a liking to it, but I now only really drink, like, taro or, like, you know, Thai tea, so I don't really get too extravagant when it comes to it. Like, I don't even know, like, milk caps are and all the other cool stuff you could put in
Mm-mm.
yeah, so I'm very simple when it comes to my boba.
Okay, no, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, that's understandable because I feel like there are just so many other, shops or chains or just even drinks
Mhm.
nowadays. Um, that I was just curious on what your drink was. I'm surprised,
Mhm.
like Kung Fu tea. I'm like, yeah, we have those. I've had some of the ones here in SoCal, so pretty good, pretty
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
It's
Uh,
like it's not your most famous, but it's most, like, well known, you know? So, yeah.
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, that's cool. That's cool. I mean, I actually funny story. Like, are you talking about like your dirty Chinese restaurant to go shop?
Right.
Man, I had mine's actually like a very similar story. We
Uh-huh.
like in my area we have this place called like Flying Chopsticks, and we used to always go there for like cheap food in high school because it was just like they would always pack that super big. You get it for like $7-8 at the time for like a two entree combo with like rice and chow mein and all that good stuff. And then like you get this super big cup of Thai tea boba for like 450. Like it was massive at that
Mhm.
time. And I saw my older sisters get boba from other places. I'm like, oh, I thought it was like okay or whatever. But then I got the Thai tea. I was like, it's cheap Thai tea for what it is. It's really good. And then that's the stuff that me and my friends grew up on. And it's actually really funny when you were telling that story. I went, man, grade of B in a Chinese restaurant. That's how you know they're good though. They're
Well,
authentic.
I mean, yeah, because those are the kind of people that are like, they're like, "I barely wash, like, no, I met this, I call her my Asian auntie, right?
Yeah.
She's from Guam, and she always said, like, "I don't fully wash my pans because when she cooks different dishes, like, it adds to flavor," and I'm like, "That's disgusting." What?
Oh my
But
gosh.
I guess that's a trend. That's the thing that people do.
Oh my god. Okay.
But
Have you seen the video of like this Chinese restaurant that never washed like the cooking pot of beef broth? Have you seen
no,
that? Oh, okay. Well,
no.
I'm gonna pull that up. Chinese beef broth never
No.
cleaned. It's like
What?
this. Okay, so I'll explain it right now, and we'll watch it in the post podcast show. So I think
Uh-huh.
it's Chinese. I don't know. I could be wrong. I could be being racist right now. But it's like
Oh god.
this Chinese beef broth that's been like brewing and they've been using for like 75 years. Obviously they add new broth to it, but they never cleaned it out and stuff. And you'll see when I show you the video later that it's on like this quote unquote like pedestal thing, right? But I'll save the surprise for all of that later. But and
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that.
it's not like it's disgusting. It's really not. And people say it's like it tastes pretty good. So it keeps all the condensed flavor of the years of beef broth. But like I
Mhm.
said, it'll make sense when you see it. But
I see.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So when you when you said you're from Vegas area, right? And then you moved to the East Coast. Like, how many years have you lived in each area?
So I basically lived in Las Vegas for the majority of my life, but I moved out of my house at 18 and I ended up moving to Virginia.
Interesting.
So yeah, 2018. So about 4 years now I've been living on the East Coast.
Nice, nice, interesting. I feel like Virginia is like one of the whitest sounding states on the East Coast.
Oh yeah, Virginia's for lovers. Yeah, uh-huh. That's like their motto. It's it's weird.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's whatever. I mean, for you, where do you like it living more? Where do you like living more?
Oh, of course I love living on the West Coast more. I love living in Vegas more. I feel like living in Vegas you're spoiled because everything stays open. Like
Oh, that's
I can
true.
I can wake up at like 3 in the morning and be like, you know what, I want some like carne asada fries. So I'll just go over to like Roberto's or something. But over here it's like 3 a.m. I'm hungry, right? And it's like, well, Wawa's open, the fucking gas station. I'll pick up chips or something, but that's it.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually something that I missed after I graduated and moved back after university. So I went to school in
Mhm.
the Bay Area. And it's like, oh, I'm hungry. I'm gonna go down to my local Mexican restaurant. I'm gonna get some hot
Mhm.
dogs, want some fried foods. And like obviously half the time there's like some drunk people there trying to get something munched on, or like even just the late night boba shops where all the Asians at for some reason.
Mhm.
And then when I moved back down home in SoCal, to my little suburb of a city, I was like, man, my sleep schedule's already all messed up. I'm staying up, and I'm just like, I'm hungry, and I don't want to open or cook something at my house. And I go, man, there's nothing open. There's
Yeah.
literally nothing open in my city past like 11 p.m. That's other than maybe
Mhm.
like Jack in the Box, but I'm just like, dude, do I really want a munchie meal right now? So,
At least it's like 11 p.m. though. Like in Virginia, everything roughly closes around 9 or 10. And they'll say like, "Oh, open until 12." But I tell you, these motherfuckers over here close whenever they feel like it. I'm calling out Virginia. I fucking hate it here. Like like I went to a wing stop, right?
uh
And
huh,
it said, "Oh, the sign said open till midnight," right?
uh huh.
Google said open until 11. Cool. I went over there and then they're like, "Oh, we stopped making like wings." And then it was only like 9:30, 10. I was like,
What?
what do you mean you stop making wings? You go over to Popeyes, right? And I tell you, like maybe an hour before closing, like they don't have enough chicken ever. So the Popeyes that I went to, I was like, okay, we have like about like an hour and 30 minutes. We can go over here and get some chicken. We go over there and they're like, oh, well, we don't have enough chicken for your order. And we're like, what do you mean you don't have enough chicken for this order? Like I'm not used to like any of this stuff. So I was like, this sucks.
Oh my gosh, you were spoiled by the Vegas
I was
nightlife.
spoiled by the Vegas. Mhm, mhm.
Oh my gosh, the chicken is always out. True, true. I mean, it sucks trying to like adjust to a new place and just having those like privileges of being able to eat out late night and just like not give a fuck sometimes. And just
Mhm.
go hunting.
Oh, okay.
um, but I don't know. I mean, because now as a working adult, I don't care as much for these things because I have a regular like 9 to 5 job and stuff like that. So I don't know if it's changed for you though, since
Mhm.
you moved over there, or like what your schedule is. How often do you search for late night food runs and stuff?
Well, after I retired, I was like, yeah, I have more time on my hands and I get like income from like the military. So that usually helps me out. So now I'm just kind of like a full-time content creator. And
Ooh,
like yeah, so, like, by doing these things, like, obviously, my sleep schedule is gonna be a little fucked, so I'm like, well, I always have the munchies, so I learned to, like well, growing up, I ate a lot of, like, canned foods, like Spam and Vienna sausage, so, like,
right.
that's literally my late night snack, so it did somewhat change because, like, the hours in the military kinda sucked, but leaving that, like, at least on, like, the ships, you're fed food, not necessarily good food, but I didn't really have to worry about that, but now that I live, like, on my own, I'm like, "Damn, I always have the munchies," you know?
Right, right, right. Got you. I mean, I want to before I continue on, just want to say what's up to everyone in chat. Aether, what's up? Tiff, what's up? Hunger 2K, hello again. Hello again. Hi.
Well,
So welcome, guys. Welcome, welcome. But I mean, it's interesting when like your life, wouldn't say revolves, but heavily encompasses like some sort of aspect. Like you said, you were in the military. For me, it was school. Now it's work.
mhm.
For you, would you say, is there a shock to your day to day when you first transitioned between those big uh things that you focused on, whether you started or you ended for in those like phases of your life?
I would say so. The biggest shock for me was, if I'm taking this question correctly, like, I joined the military straight out of high school, so I barely turned 18, and, I went from always having, like, food on the table and, like, your basic, like, toiletries and stuff to being completely isolated from, like, any family, and then learning how to kind of be financially independent as well as, like, independently provide for myself. So, like, by making, like, jumps like that, like, I feel like you're still kind of growing at 18. Like, it may be the legal age to where you're considered an adult, but it's still, like, a really big change whether you were, like, coddled by your family or not. Like, um, I remember the first apartment that I lived in, it was a two-bedroom, and I was paying 1,200 a month, but every 2 weeks, I was only getting paid roughly around 650, 700. So, like, I was barely making enough to make those payments.
Mm.
So, I kinda learned the struggle and learning, like, "Okay, well, I can't buy, like, your brands that you normally get," like, was it, like, Charmin, right? Charmin, toilet paper, like, that's way expensive, right, compared to, like, your off brands.
Right.
Like, I learned how to be a little bit more, conserved with my money and stuff.
Okay, that's interesting. I mean, for you, so wait, do you mind asking if you care what branch of military you went to?
Oh, yeah, I don't mind talking about this at all. So I served in the Navy
Mm, mm.
for my first contract. So I did my first contract and then I got out because it just was not it was not for me.
Gotcha, gotcha. Because I've had a few friends in the military, and obviously they also after their first contract they also bounced. Um, growing up for them, because they also some of them went straight out of high school, some dropped out of college and then went to the military, but
Mhm.
and for them they say they didn't like it, for the sake
Yeah.
of, like you said, just like that struggle to just not just survive, but just like the day-to-day grind for them was just something they also weren't used to. But
Mhm.
like luckily for them, they managed to pull through and get through their first stint. And um in stories that I've heard from some people, whether by third party or from directly from my friends, is if you didn't really have that transition, let's say after high school, or if you were in high school, you didn't have that full civilian type of life,
Mhm.
that transitioning after the military was also kind of difficult just to readjust to have that more civilian lifestyle and get out of that military mindset that, like, they broke down and rebuilt you back up again in that sort of light.
Yeah.
So I mean, did you have that kind of struggle too?
Um, so in my case, it was the military that kind of. So I started off as a very confident, like, I can do what I want if I put my mind to it. Like, I have all these dreams and stuff. And this is a disclaimer, like, the military doesn't do this to everybody. This was just my personal experience. Like,
Hmm.
I had such rough experiences in the military to the point where, like, I lost everything that made me who I was. So when I got out, having that mindset of like, well, I can't do this, or maybe I can. I don't know. Like having that loss of confidence, like the readjustment period didn't take as long, but what kind of resided with me was like I had to learn to set my boundaries again. You know, like we as for me, I was an enlisted, right? So like I had to basically listen to every command given to me without any questions asked. I had to go and do things that I was uncomfortable with, but like transitioning out, like finding that confidence that I had prior to getting in is kind of what I'm working on now. Like
Mm.
it's pretty tough because, like, and plus when you're isolated from, like, family and friends for a long time, especially since, like, in my case, like, I was out for deployment for, like, a year, so I didn't have any contact with, like, certain family members and, like, close friends, but in that period, you really see, like, who your friends are because I thought I was, like, a fairly popular person to where, like, "Oh, these people say they care about me, and, oh, they'll write to me and stuff, like, I'll be fine." Yeah, never like, my friends literally got cut, probably, like, 75% of them got cut, and I learned they weren't actually real friends, and I keep that 25% close to me because during that entire struggle, like, those people were the ones that were there. So, transitioning, like, I learned, like, "Okay, cool, now I know, like, who's really supportive of me, who actually has my back," and then when it comes to, like, living circumstances, like, I'm learning to be normal again, like, not waking up, like, in the dead of the night like, and then just being, like, ready because, I used to drink a lot of energy drinks, like, I think the max energy drinks that I used to drink was, like, 5 Red Bulls, like,
In a day or
yeah,
okay.
in a day's time, right?
Okay.
But mind you, I'm drinking, like, 3 of those, like, probably within, like, 3 hours,
Oh, geez.
you
Yeah,
know?
okay. Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, having, like, that caffeine, high and stuff like it was pretty rough, like, being healthy is what I'm working on.
Got
So and getting proper sleep too.
gotcha. That's so interesting. Then as another question for you, just to see like your perspective on this. So for your
Mhm.
friends that you thought you were pretty popular, and I don't want to make this like too personal if you don't want it to, but in your
Oh, shoot.
yeah, but in your personal opinion, because in high school you see a lot of the same people for like 4 years straight for the majority
Mhm.
of the people that you would consider your friends. Do you think that that 25% that stayed was that got cut down from from the original 100%? Would you consider that because you were off to the military, or was that just because everyone went off and you just didn't see them on a regular basis? Because I feel like that's also just a normal thing for people to who graduate after high school, that your friend group just gets immediately smaller just because you don't see and talk to them every day. So I just want to hear your opinion on that. So
Um, my opinion is that, like, so in high school, and especially around the time that I was in high school, like, you get so involved with, like, trends and social media to where, like, back in, like, high school for me, it was, like, the amount of likes that you had, the amount of followers you had, the amount of Facebook friends you had, like,
right.
the amount of followers on Twitch, right? So, like, to me, I was pretty, like, I don't wanna, like, brag or anything, but I was pretty popping, like, on Instagram, like, clocking in, like, 500 likes and stuff like that, and that's basically me, like, working in certain events, like, hosted in Las Vegas and stuff like that, like, Foodie Fest was one of them that my uncles own, and, like, that brought a lot of, like, attention, right? And, like, I let it get to my head and I was like, "Oh yeah, so like people will always be there, you know?" And then when I left, it's not that they all went their separate ways and stuff because the friend group that I have now, like we barely talk to each other now, but they were there during the struggle. Like I reached out to these people that kept
Hmm.
saying like, "Oh yeah, I have your back" and stuff, but like I understand if you're like busy and stuff. Like I understand if you have things going on and we've all made it very clear like me and my closest friends, we all say like, "Hey, we're adults, we got shit to do," you know? But like it's the people that say, "Oh yeah, I'll be there," right? And then they just you don't hear from them. And that's like that was something that was kind of hard for me to adjust to because like I lost a lot of people that I thought were like close to me. Like, I knew this one guy, and me and him were pretty close in high school, and
Mhm.
he joined the military too. But his excuse for everything was like, "Oh, well, I'm just always so busy." And like, he would reach out to me like 3 to 4 months later, and I would know that he's working like a shore duty, which is not like you're not limited to having your phone taken away. You know what I mean?
Right,
So,
right, right.
like, it was, like, instances like that, like, I understood, like, with one of my close female friends that she's like, "Oh, I just have things going on, but I would like to be there for you," like, those are the people that I keep very close to me because I'm like, "Well, at least, like, I know," and you don't have to update me on things that you're doing, but it was just more like, kinda showing that, like, you care for this friendship as much as I do because I used to consider everybody like a best friend. And this
Mm,
definitely,
mm.
like, changed me because I was a fairly bubbly person. So, like, for instance, if this was back then, like how I'm talking to you right now, I'd be like, "Oh, Neon? Yeah, he's my best friend." Like, yeah, we did a podcast, he's my best friend, but, like, I learned to set boundaries, and that's what I meant, like, certain social boundaries, certain boundaries for myself. Like, I can say no now if I'm uncomfortable, and, sometimes people forget that, like, when you say no, it's not you being rude, it's just you, like, setting that personal boundary of, "I don't wanna do this, but I hope you can respect that." And then that's usually where, like, the ball is in their court, where you're like, "Okay, well, if you wanna abide by this or you wanna, like, respect my boundaries, that's on you," you know?
Right, 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 right. I feel like that also just happens a lot with, like you said, it's not just um people who were there just because, they were part of like the event that was happening at the time, or just in that, would say, phase, I guess you could call it, for lack of better terms. But I feel like those people who also just, who say things like that, be like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna be there," and then they're not there, are also just people who sort of, wouldn't say live in the moment as much, but it's like they try to maximize what they gain from, in that short term, rather than a long term. Because
Right, right.
because some people that are like that, that, because it's, for me, it's like not necessarily like, it's not like I have clout or like I'm popular by any means, not like, at any point. But it was just that, yo, I'm doing something and you just want to be a part of it. You know what I mean? Like they want to
Yeah,
gain
yeah, yeah, yeah.
something from that. And sure, I mean, that's cool and all, but at the same time, it's like, dude, I'm just trying to do me. And
Yeah.
if you're not gonna be there and do what I want to do, at least together, for the long run,
Mhm.
I'm like, come on, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna entertain you.
Yeah.
So, like, and for, just like you said, like setting boundaries, for me, it's not even just setting boundaries, it's more so just like, hey, look, we're adults. Like you said, we're adults.
Uh-huh.
If I can be straightforward enough with you now, like, and you can't handle that, then clearly we're not on the same page about something. Like,
Mhm.
and that's why when I start talking and interacting with people, right, and I get a general sense of how they talk, how they flow, and their energy and stuff like that, and I'll get a general sense of who I'll click with. And that's like, I was talking with you and checked out your stream, and I was like, oh man, Kat, I could invite her a podcast. I don't even know her that long. I know. When I know, right?
Right,
And you're one of those people when it's like, she gets it. She gets it. So I'm just like,
right.
I'm bring her on this small ass podcast, and let's talk. And I'm like, in the past hour, I've learned so much more about you. I'm just like, this is exact. I wouldn't say you're exactly the person I figured you were, but like, as far as your experiences that I've heard so far, accumulating to who you are right now, I'm just like, this makes sense. This makes sense on
Mhm.
why I can vibe with you.
No, I'm glad to hear that. Because for a while I had like imposter syndrome. So I'm telling you, like the things that happened in my life, it really molded me to who I am. Because a lot of people can attest to the fact that like the east side of Las Vegas, it's pretty ghetto, and like I grew up with a lot of like. I'm calling these people out too. They're like wannabe gangsters, you know what I mean?
Oh
They're
yeah, 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 yeah,
definitely
yeah, yeah.
definitely different from the motherfuckers here. Like people here in the East Coast, like when you see a gun, you're like, oh, I'm gonna get shot, like right. But when you see it on like in Las Vegas, I see a gun. This guy's just trying to play gangster, right? So like being in the mentality that I was back then, like I had a really rough upbringing from my family,
Mm-hmm.
so I wanted to be big and bad somewhere, right? So the first time I stood up to for myself was out on the street, and like I had a little bit of street cred that like followed me. By all means, that I like want this. I didn't want this at all. I just wanted people to stop picking on me, and I wanted to feel like strong, you know.
Okay.
So if you get like trampled, right, and then they know they could pick on you, like bullies will keep coming. So like I learned to defend myself, but I was very barbaric in a way. So like I was not good at comebacks. I was not good at explaining myself or talking myself out of situations. So I would just swing. And like when I joined the military, if I don't agree with what someone's saying, I can't just like punch this dude in the face. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
I had to learn to use my words. But instead of me learning my words in the military, I completely just kind of in a way what is it? Conceited, and I was a very introverted, and I got picked on a lot, and I got hazed, and like it was a completely different experience. Like all that confidence that I thought I had, all that like big and bad, like you know what, you ain't gonna mess with me, like all that left. And transitioning out now, I'm like, okay, well, I gotta learn to use my words. I gotta learn to like not insinuate fights, not start fights. I gotta learn to like kind of be strong to where no one picks on me, but at the same time stand my ground. So like it's a lot to take in, I guess, being here in present time, you know?
Right, right. How many years have you been out of the military then?
Uh Actually I've only been out for I wanna say a little under a year. So it's fairly recent, you know?
Gotcha,
Uh
gotcha.
I like what your friend said in the comment.
Jay, just be weird as fuck and people leave you alone. True, true, true. If you drop your
Dude.
pants, why are you gonna beat up someone with their pants dropped or what?
Oh my god. I don't think that, like, translates for women. They're like, "Ooh,
Oh, okay. Okay, fair. Okay, true. As for all right,
whoa, delicious." Okay.
for the dudes, drop your pants.
I think for women, you just gotta, like, bark really aggressively, like, "Hey, yo, ma, how you doing?"
That's a good one. That's a good one. But again, I feel like this only happens enough just because, or this more applicable once less on the street and more so just in high school or school in general, from my opinion, because it's like not my area was like low income and like semi ghetto. We would have like
Mhm.
low key gangs and people starting up fights here and there, but it was nothing where people were bringing like guns and like there were shootings or anything in my area.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, uh, but for me, it was more so because if street could how do I say this, street cred didn't hold as much weight in school because everyone would just avoid you to begin with, if
Oh.
because it's like like for my group of friends, right, I was a nerd in high school, like straight up. I would get picked on a little bit, but they're like, dude, come on, man, you really gonna keep doing this? They're like, all right, they were cool about it if you said something, you know what I mean? Like we didn't have any like
Yeah,
real bullies or anything and stuff like that.
yeah.
But thankfully that wasn't that was the case, that we didn't have any hardcore bullying in my school as far as I am aware of in my class and grade and stuff like that. So um but the point is, for me growing up as a nerd is that that type of thing in my area would only work in high school, because once you left high school things didn't really matter anymore, because it would just be you and whatever you did and whoever you brought along with you, your friends. And
Right.
because things would, wherever you went or whatever you did in high school, it mattered because you would see them every day. After the fact, if
Yes.
everyone's doing their own thing and left, I'm just like, no one gives a shit if they didn't care about you in the first place. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I know some people that were for the first couple of years that like, didn't go to university, or they were just not even like working after school. They were still trying to live off like some high school vibes. And you're like, dude, man, we're trying to do our own thing right now. We kind of moved on from that. And they're like, it was just a little awkward trying to, talk with those people who are still sort of in that high school mindset. I'm like, dude, we've kind of moved on, So,
Yeah, exactly. Like,
so
there's just some people that like peak in high school, and then that's where their glory days were, because it is true. You are around these people all the time, and everything that you did in high school mattered. But the only reason why I can ever relate to people who had like such a great time in high school was because um, so obviously, I'm still very young, right? So like, I grew up in the 2000s, but the thing is, 2000s is such an awkward time because the 90s kids are like, "Fuck you, we don't like you," right? And then the people who were born past like 2003, 2004, I'm like, "I don't relate to y'all. Y'all and your fidget spinners and like all that shit." Like, I grew up in that awkward like middle where it's just like, yeah, I was in that raw XD phase. I was in that like the Domo backpacks and the tails and shit, but I still can communicate with Gen Z. You know what I mean? Like it's a very strange thing because when I started ninth grade, that's when people were starting to really get into like Instagram and stuff, and cyberbullying became a really big thing.
right,
Like
right.
I didn't even know how to handle cyberbullying because like those are the people that are super clicky, right? And like in middle school, like I hung out with high schoolers. So like I didn't really get along with people like around my age, and this because like I just felt like we just cared about like two completely different things, which is fine because I wasn't like, well, y'all are immature. It wasn't like that. It was just more like I couldn't find like any common grounds. The only common grounds I had was like video games. And getting older, right? And then like seeing that there were more Asian cliques at the high school I went to, I was like, "Oh, cool. I don't have an Asian group, but that'd be cool to be with them." And that's when like it opened the door of like, oh, these people are about like the designer purses, about status, about like how many followers you had. So like that's when cyberbullying became a thing for me, and I was just like, why does this shit matter? Like it never mattered to me, and like all that street cred that I thought that I accumulated like potentially almost got me kicked out of this like high school I went to because it was a very prestigious school. It was like a technical school that
Oh,
was
uh-huh.
career based.
Hmm.
Yeah, so, like, they were like, "Well, this girl's from the ghetto and, like, she's, like, a bully and, like, I'm afraid for my safety," and then we had, like, these people that were like, "This behavior will be tolerated at this school," and I'm like, "I'm not even doing anything. I'm just standing up for myself," which is like, "Hey," and how I would handle situations like this is I had a problem with somebody, I'd walk up to that person, I'd be like, "Hey, yo," like, what's your fucking deal, And then they'd be like, oh, nothing. Like, I'm sorry that we had a misunderstanding. And I'd be like, cool, let's talk about it. If you want to like hash out some like misunderstandings, we can do that. But then these people would turn around and post on Instagram, this girl's so lucky that I didn't fucking swing, blah, blah, blah. You're such a bully. And I wasn't even aware of like any of this stuff because I wasn't active on like
Mm.
social media,
Mm.
So
Right, right, right.
it was also a very big change going into like different kinds of like communities, because across like Las Vegas, if you got accepted into this career and technical academy, like,
Hmm.
I was introduced to people that didn't grow up on the east side.
Right, 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 right. I mean, for it's interesting to hear that from you because for me, like I'm that half generation right before you, right?
Mhm.
I'm a
Mhm.
95 baby, right? So
Mhm.
I'm just like right at the tail end of like being considered a 90s kid.
Right.
Um, so like I grew up in that big transition phase, and like Instagram was popping right towards the middle of high school for me, and like Snapchat was becoming a thing and all this other stuff. And same thing, it's like people were definitely really clicky at my school. Like people were, it's pretty obvious like which cliques were who and who's hanging out with whatever people. But at the
Right.
same time, it's like because not everyone cared and it wasn't common for everyone to have these social platforms, it's not like cyberbullying was a huge thing that I saw. And the other thing was just, um, I think it really depends because, you know, like you said, you're like the half generation after, right? Where it's Instagram has established itself as one of the biggest platforms. Facebook has established itself as a platform. Like the two biggest social media platforms, obviously, and you can see the number of likes, the number of followers, and all that good stuff. But or good stuff depending on how you look at it, right? It's like if people start judging you based off how many followers and likes you have, you know, that's not a good thing. But
Mm-hmm.
my point is that just seeing that huge dynamic shift from my years versus hearing your stories, and even I have a younger cousin who's in high school and she tells me about like her stories, right, about like being in
Mm-hmm.
high school and social media. I'm like, what the hell is going on right now? Like
Yeah.
these are stories that I thought were only happened in like TV drama shows or some shit,
That's
or
the
like
thing,
I'm just
though.
like, there's no way this is real. And like she shows me the receipts, right? It like shows me the conversations, what people post. I'm like, dude, this can't be real, dude. People are literally living in a fucking TV drama show. Like everyone's trying to be their own fucking main character in their show. I'm like, no way, dog. Fuck this, dude. This is so
It is no, it
stupid.
is 100% like that because like it's more so like and boomers will argue and say, "Well, like it's these damn TV shows." And it's true. Like you don't understand like the weight of like how these high school TV shows portray high school. So these middle schoolers that are watching how high school is on TV, they're trying to emulate that in their life. So I just think around that time there's so much melodrama and they're so melodramatic,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and like being exposed to all that stuff. So mind you, so I told you that like growing up, I was into books, I was into playing outside, I played a lot of video games, but like I wasn't heavily on social media. But being at the high school that I was, it almost forced me to believe that like, well, I'm not going to be respected around here if I don't have an Instagram, if I don't have a good following, if I don't have like the status, And like
Mm,
being in that mentality is like they kinda look at you in a way like, "What do you mean you don't have Instagram?" Or what do you like, that's when Kick, like, the messaging app was kinda dying out for me, and,
mm-hmm.
like, I was on Kick in middle school, so, like, it wasn't, like, how the older generation sees it, like, because 'cause I'll talk to my fiancé about it, and he's like, Kick was, like, for nudes, right? Like, that was, like, a messaging site for, like, sending nudes, and then Snapchat became the thing, but for me, I was like, "Oh, Kick can be, like, something to that can, like, I guess, reach out to, pen pals, create, like, those friendships and stuff, so that's how I used Kick, and I have, like, 2 friends that I used to talk to in middle school that we're still friends today. But, like, when Kick was dying out, like, it was just all about, like, Instagram, and then Twitter was kinda coming up, and,
Right.
like, now Twitter is super popular now, but when you look back, like, it was 100% like that, and then those people who were popular, like, way back when, like, they're still doing the same shit, I'm telling you, like, they still have that same high school group clique, they're still trying to, like, relive that, or they're in, like, frats and, sororities, and, like, it's just I just find that crazy because, like, does the high school mentality end when they leave college? Because if you're pursuing that same culture and finding the same kinds of people, like, in college, at universities, like,
Mm,
when does that, like, cliquey and, status type mentality end, And that's what made me so grateful for joining the military because I was away from all that shit.
right, right, right. I mean, what from people I knew like that, right? Who had their clicky sort of popular on social media, and then they joined like a frat or a sorority. I'm just like, that's cool and all, but at the same time, what's up, Dohai? At the same time, I'm just like, dude, luckily for you, you were able to uh have the money or like backing to even get into Greek life, right? And I'm like, dude, that's the fact that you're still doing like that kind of shit is crazy to me. And for me, I think how you said, like, does it end after like college or university? For me, it sort of does because it's like, because everyone's gonna how it is in the culture from my perspective is like, oh, they're popular in high school, they joined a sorority or a frat in college, then after college there's like, oh yeah, we're gonna be in a relationship, I'm gonna go to fucking all these EDC festivals and get like under the influence, I'm gonna get crossed and all that stuff.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, and then I'm like, all right, cool. So then, so even after university, they'll still have those like those friends after the fact, for a couple years, in my opinion. And then it's like once it
Hmm.
starts settling down, everyone getting tired of going to raves and festivals and shit. And it's like, dude, I think they get to milk out like another 10 years out of that, because it's like they go into frat and they have the brotherhood or the sisterhood or whatever, and then after all the
Yeah.
festivals, and they're like, all right, cool, are they still your friends? Are they
Oh my
really
god.
like it?
That's the reality check that I love seeing, because I'm telling you, like, probably around 25 to 30, right? You're like, "Oh shit, like, these people weren't actually my friends," you know?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I
yeah.
I basically just paid this membership or whatever, because I know you pay certain fees and stuff. You pay for friendships. You literally get into this thing. And I tried, like, people tried recruiting me into the sorority at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. And
Hmm.
I was just like, I'm just not about that. Like, this whole sisterhood thing, like, I want friendships to be like genuine. And I don't doubt that like they'll have genuine friendships here and there. But that's like onesie twosie type things, because even within those like really big organizations or clubs, like there is still those onesie twosies, and there's beef within those groups.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. I think that's just how it normally is, though. It's like, oh, you get to fit in into our group, right? But I'm like, you'll fit in such a generic enough group that, and then everyone goes into that with like such an ego, and I'm just like, dude, how do you survive like that, dude? I don't
Mhm.
understand.
It's because at that point, and I had to tell my friend, like, "Look, I'm happy that you have all of these friends, right? And I'm not trying to rain on your parade or anything. But you got to think about it this way, like, are you living the way that you're living because that's just what's in that group, or are you basically like just adapting and changing your likes and dislikes, you know what I mean? Because like it's always like a
Mm.
majority vote type thing. Like, I'm not a fan of like people like living their lives from like the expectations of others, and that goes for like everybody in your life, including family. Like, the way that I am right now, I can tell you 100% my parents do not like that I didn't pursue nursing
Oh,
in,
of course,
college.
Phil, you're a Filipino, of course.
Of course, yeah,
Of
right, and
course,
I told
yeah.
them, "Well, this is my life, and because I had, like, 4 or 5 years, like, kinda taken from me due to the military, like, I wanna live it the way that I want to, and at the end of the day, like, we can die at any moment, right? And then am I comfortably able to say right now, and that goes for, like, everybody watching, right? Like, are you able to comfortably, like, die right now and say, like, "I lived my life the way that I wanted to?" Because
Mm.
from a Filipino background, like, they tell you money and comfortability, right, keeps you, uh is what keeps you comfortable in life, right? But you're not supposed to be comfortable. You're supposed to reach for things that are out of your comfort zone. You're supposed to do things in order to reach the goal that you want, the goal that you set in your own life. And that goes for your own judgment. It shouldn't be based off of somebody else's. So when you see people that are in that like group mentality, that majority vote type mentality, it's like they're not really living their lives. They're like a side character in these other people's lives. And then they come to realize that way later on. Like, even people that are in their mid 30s are like, oh shit, I don't actually want to be a doctor. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
But I lost all those years, so might as well continue and retire. But at that point, you have lived 35 years of your life living from paycheck to paycheck with this single-minded mindset of like, well, I'm going to be a doctor and then I'm set. But what happens after you become a doctor? What happens to like if people want to have families? Like, what happens to having a family, going and spending time with your friends, going out
Mm.
to a restaurant for yourself and like treating yourself? Like, what happened to those kinds of cultures, you know?
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. What up, G-Force in chat, by the way. Military part of the cat here is part of the Navy. So
Yes,
yeah, Dohai was also
Navy
also
sailor.
part of the military. So um yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you talk about that stuff, right? Because for someone like me who grew up like I said earlier, I was a little bit sheltered. I didn't know what I wanted to do in life. There, my parents were like, "Oh, go be an engineer if you don't want to be a doctor." I looked down the engineering path. I'm like, "Yeah, that's not for me, dude. Like, this is not for
Mhm.
me." As a gamer, I just wanted to socialize with people and want to meet with people, and you know, I didn't have a long term goal. I was very short sighted. I'm like, as long as I finish school, I'm finished with school. We're good. Whatever. I'll find a job. And even now, I'm just like, yeah, I'm working a job. Is it like a dream job I worked for? No, not really. It's like, it's paying the bills. It's not that difficult, and I'm getting paid well for what I'm doing, and that's good. But I've also come to the realization, like you said, it's like, what else? What is more than my career that I want to focus on? Is the connections and the friends that and family that I really value. And
Mhm.
I've only come across this realization during the pandemic because I was social. I'm like introverted. I'm an ambivert, but I like being
Mhm.
alone when I want to be, but I really like hanging out with people. Um,
Oh, okay.
yeah, but and being in the pandemic and being locked down, not be able to see anyone really sucked for my mental. Just being stuck at home, I was getting like, what's it called, like hay fever or whatever? No, wrong. So something like that. Whatever, closet. I don't remember. But
Closets.
I don't remember the term. But um, I was just stuck at home, and what I realized was that um, for me, money is more so just a gateway to be able to do things more so than a lifestyle for me, because what I started compromising both myself mentally and then financially once I started like making more money and like had a different jobs was that people will be like, "Oh, gas is expensive." I'm like, "Dude, don't worry, I'll drive." It's like, I live an hour away. I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna drive to you. Like, come
Oh,
on, we're
right,
we're gonna hang
yeah.
out. And I'm like, "Dude, we're
We
gonna
on
hang."
the same wavelength, same
Yeah,
wavelength.
yeah, and the thing is, like, dude, like, bro, you're my friend. I care about you. We're gonna you if don't worry about the monetary values. We're gonna hang out. And they're like, dude, I'll buy you food if you want. Like, don't worry about it. They're like, no, you don't have to. I'm like, trust me that I would rather pay the monetary value now to hang out and spend quality time with my friends that I truly care about, because if we're just gonna use money as an excuse, unless it's like big money, then I'm just like, bro, it's not an issue. I want us to hang out now, right? And they're like, all right, cool, let's hang out. I'm like, cool, let's hang out, because for me, I'd rather pay that monetary value than be at home, and both of us are like, I wouldn't say suffering, but like feeling that pain of not being able to hang out due to just monetary reasons or something. And I would just rather do that, and I would like do shit if I had more vacation days and stuff like that. I would gladly go traveling with my friends to do stuff, even if uh it cost me some money, because for that's just
Yeah.
quality time. That's just being able to hang out with my friends. um and hello, Nilo. Hello, NSX. You driving NSX or what?
Oh, Nilo is the god in Forza, let me tell you, teaching me currently how to play Forza.
Very nice, very nice.
Mm.
But yeah, I
But
mean, oh yeah, go
I
ahead, go ahead.
completely, no, I completely agree with you, so what I come to realize though, because, like, the pandemic happened around, like, 2019, end of 2019, beginning of 2020, sort of
Hmm.
ish, I think,
Yeah.
like, you start to see that, a lot of people have had some, like, self-reflection time and, like, realization of, like, how they've been spending their lives, right? And, like, I see the exact same thing. Like, there's no amount of money that matters to me if that means that I can go and spend time, because at the end of the day, like, these are memories that end up becoming core memories, with, like, these people that, can potentially be there for the rest of your lives. So,
Hmm.
it's it helped me not stay so sheltered anymore, because like I said, after the military, like I felt like I lost connection with myself, connection with friends, and like stepping out of my shell again and kind of relearning how to be social and to be normal in social settings, because I say that in a way because for those who are in the military, like it is so hard to turn off the sailor mouth. Like I'm doing pretty good like not swearing and saying the fucking like F word. Like it's shit fucking bitch. That's like three main words that I used in every sentence. And I remember you would go to these classes, right? And they're like, how to be a civilian again, how to talk to people when you're trying to do an interview, because not many people are gonna take the same way. Like if I came onto your podcast and I was like, "Yo, what the fuck is up, Neon? Like my name is Kat, and I'm from the fucking shit," like you're gonna be like, "What the, like why is she so aggressive?" It's not that. It's just like we were so used to talking like that to each other, like in the workplace, that I'm pretty sure that shit won't fly if you're trying to go like corporate or trying to work in like a company, and the first thing you say to your boss's like face is like, hey yo, what the fuck's going on.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
just,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Man, that's funny. I totally forgot that you were like holding yourself back because I was like, you've been fined, and I was like, it slipped my mind because we were just talking.
Yeah. No, I can turn it off now. It's just like when I get really comfortable, like I found out like so my relationship with my parents aren't the best. So when I came out of the military, like my parents were like, "Hi, we missed you." And I was like, "Hey yo, what the fuck's going on?" And they're like, "What?" I was like,
uh,
ooh, sorry, sorry." They're like, "You can't cuss like that." And I was like, "Yes, I can. I'm an adult. Like it's just my form of expression." And I do realize that it will mess me up in the long run, so I'm trying really hard not to talk like that, but, like, when I stream with my friends, like, I normally just, like, let loose and I say whatever I want, but I learned that that stuff can be offensive to people, and that's not the kind of impression that I wanna leave. I don't want people to think like, "Oh, this person is, like, so fucking, like, disrespectful,"
right,
and, like,
right.
the military actually changed my view on, like, disrespect. Like, if I'm talking to you and I'm like, "Hey, yo, you're fucking dope." Like, I'm not being disrespectful, it's just my choice of words that aren't exactly elegant. You know what I mean?
Right. I
Yeah.
think I feel like okay, well, just to put a little twist on that, like I understand because that's how you grew up. That was the culture. That was the environment that you were in, and you just like felt comfortable doing that, right? And
Yeah.
just speaking like that. But I also just like going back to the original like internet thing, right? Growing up on the internet, I know some people who for the lack of better terms are on Twitch way too much. And they're just like
Oh, yeah.
they speak in Twitch chat emotes. I'm like,
And
bro.
emotes.
They're like, oh, you that was so funny, Kappa or Kek W. I'm like, bro, I'm talking to you in person right now. I don't need to hear a Kek W, bro. I just I just laugh.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the heck? But I mean,
Yeah.
going back to what you were saying, like I was also the same way before my jobs too, because me and my friends we used to swear a lot to you. Like we didn't have any military friends or stuff like that. It was just common that we would just like throw in a swear word. And once we started, once I started going to like school, and job, and I would still swear in school, but not talking to like new friends in class and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But outside of class and stuff, I would swear a lot, and even after school, after college, and going to find jobs and stuff, and even going back home to not swear at home is also just really hard sometimes. I
Yeah.
go, I'm just like, okay, I gotta tone it down, but I'm sure it's not as bad as you being in the military, surrounded where every sentence and every single person around you is like swearing something just to throw it into the sentence. So
Yeah, it's like what is it? What I don't like is like when you're in the military, like leadership, they tend to forget, and these are people that have been for 15 to 20 years, and by all means, like I said before, this doesn't apply to everybody. It's just my personal experience that I've seen. It's like,
right,
you know, gaining respect and having people lead others, right? So you're meeting everybody that's all around the states, all across the globe, right? And the first thing that you come across is when you're in boot camp, the type of respect that they expect from you is just like respect and fear, right? And that's completely like not what flies in the real world, right? Like no one's gonna come up to you as a boss and be like, "Well, you're gonna fucking listen to me because I fucking said so." You know what I mean? Like that's not a proper way to lead and guide somebody, right? So these people who are used to leading in fear, like having you become scared of them, that it kind of ruins them when they try to go for like a manager role or like a boss level type job. And you have
Mm,
to go and lead these people, and they're like, well, I'm not appreciative of your language. And they're like, oh, well, this flew by, like this was perfectly fine for me when I was in the military. And then they look at you and they're like, well, you're not fucking in anymore, right? You got to treat me like a
right.
person. And like by doing that, like, I was telling people who were ready to get out, like, all the stuff that you thought would help you in the military, like being a leader, it does not revolve around swearing. Like, you can see, like, perfectly fine, like, influencers that don't cuss at their audience, that don't say, "Well, you're gonna fucking listen to me because I said this fucking product works." You know what I mean? Like, you can lead based off of, like, an authoritative, like, demeanor, but, that authority doesn't necessarily have to be you know, uh, like a fearful one, you know?
Right, right. I mean, I feel like that's just how things evolved only recently in terms of, modern Western society, here in the US where people have realized it's like, dude, I'm not gonna deal with your shit type of mentality. Cause I was like 10 years ago, people would tolerate that shit, be like, oh, this is my only job and stuff like that. But people have now realized today that they're not gonna deal with that. And I don't know if you've seen memes like on your social media but like
Mhm,
people joking around like the labor shortage. It's like it's not a labor shortage. It's like your management treats employees like crap type of shit. So
mhm.
I think that's, like I said, only in the last couple of years that people have started to realize that and do things like that. And just to connect that to your point, so um it's interesting to hear. Also, just say hi to Lord Ray Earth. I didn't say what's up. And Kappa Keepo Kek. What's up, guys? Hello, hello. I appreciate you guys being here. So, but I mean,
Yeah.
just being part of such an interconnected society of, you can get publicized for saying a racial slur, getting canceled for being a nobody in the middle of in a nowhere city. Oh Lord, thank you so much for the 100 bits. You didn't have to. Thank you so much.
Oh,
Um,
Ray.
yeah, thank you so much. But I think stories like that can pop up, and everything can be blown out of proportion nowadays. Like
Mhm.
information, misinformation, just any kind of news story on any social media outlet is crazy to me. Also, just like you
Exactly.
have to be considerate of not just your in-person interactions, but your long-term social presence of existing as a person in this day and age.
Yeah.
So I don't,
That's
it's
the one thing, yeah, that I would like to add on to that, like, I like how the older, like, the boomers, I call them, right? They like to say, "Well, everyone's so fucking sensitive now," and, like, yes and no. Yes, we are sensitive, but at the same time, like, you're bringing awareness to things that are offensive. Like, we were living in a time for a very long time where, like, things can fly and you just had to deal with it, right? But now
right.
that these people are getting called out for their actions, it's just like, I do, like, stand for that. Like, for me, I always say, when I talk to, like, my group of friends or those who, like, see me as, like, an influencing figure in their lives, all I say is, like, stand up for the things that you care about, but at the same time, understand that not everyone will see the same things as you do. So before you can go and judge that person, well, they're just so fucking soft, right? It's not that. It's just you need to respect those boundaries as they set forth. Like, I
Right.
understand that, like, there are a lot of extremists out there and they've come to light a lot over the past couple years. But at the same time, like, they're standing for something that they believe in, and that's something that we can respect. Now, what I don't respect is when, like, you say, like, "Hey, well, I believe in this." "Oh, well, I don't believe in that." "Okay, well, fuck you. Your
Yeah,
views are
yeah.
wrong."
Oh my god, I hate that so
Yeah, like,
much, dude.
I don't believe in that at all because, like, where is the control in these debates, right? Because we're not calling this person individually out personally, right? Like, if you can base your beliefs off of facts and things like that, like, kudos to you, but at the same time, respect the other person that you're talking to. Because I assume, like,
Exactly.
the more that I get to know you, I'm not gonna be like, "Oh, Neon is super cool, blah, 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 but he doesn't believe in this, so I think he's a fucking jackass." Like, I'm not gonna say that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah. I
yeah, it's
th-
just
Yeah, go. Oh, sorry. I'll let you finish. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna end right there. Like, it's just like having that respect for one another, and that's something that people tend to forget. Like, by all means, freedom of speech, but at the same time, it's not freedom to roast everybody, freedom to attack everybody. You know?
I mean, yeah. I got you. I'm like, I'll roast anybody I feel like I want to roast. But I mean,
Right, right.
no. But I mean, that's in a more joking manner, right? Like, you come to my Twitch channel, you say something, or you like, you're on my stream, like, you're liable to get roasted. I don't know if that's in my about me
Mhm.
section, but whatever. It should be. I think it is. I think it's actually in
Yeah.
my Twitch chat. Like, you have to agree to it. It's like, I got it. But anyways, point is, a lot of these people nowadays, like, two main points that I want to hit. First point, a lot of people nowadays want to deal with absolutes, right? That's like everyone wants to deal with like a black and white situation. It's like, oh, you don't like this, you're a racist. I don't like you. Like, I'm like, what the fuck, bro? Like, all he said was he didn't like this salsa at this taco joint or some shit. I'm like, what the
No, you're a fucking
hell?
racist against
You're
Mexicans. What do you have against Mexicans, huh?
yeah, exactly. I'm like, okay, but like, that was the first one. Like, people like to think in absolutes, right? Because it's the easiest way for a human to understand and cope with things that they hear and experience in life. It's like, oh, it's like, they don't agree with me, yeah, fuck them, whatever, I don't want to deal with them shit. And if they want to argue, they want to argue, sure, whatever. It's like,
Yeah,
the Karens of the world. It's like, I'm right, you're wrong. I'm like, the customer's always right.
yeah,
And I'm like, bitch, no, you're not. you're not
yeah.
you're not right. There's no world, even if you are dealing absolutes, that you're right. Anyways, point is, that's point number one. People like to deal with absolutes, and that's not a good
Mhm.
thing. Nothing is, let's say nothing, majority of things in life are not absolute, right? Like, fucking, I can go with so many different examples. Things
Yeah.
change, day in, day out, whether it's overtime, and it sucks. Especially if it doesn't conform to your mindset and your beliefs and stuff like that. Same thing with, like, I think the biggest thing that we talked about, like, 3 weeks ago on the podcast was like, was it the Roe v. Wade, whatever, the birth
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
abortion thing? Yeah, like, we talked about that, and I'm like, dude, that sucks that it's like that the government has to get involved to create this sort of quote unquote absolute kind of law in certain areas. I'm just like, this is stupid. It shouldn't be like that. But the second point that I want to make of people that want to deal with absolutes is that, as the way that I want to, like, make friends and vibe with people is not people, like, I can have friends that deal with absolutes, but it's more of the fact that I want people who know what they want in life, but at the same time do it in a manner that doesn't necessarily hurt anyone, right? Because sure, you can stand for what you believe in, but if you're trying to shove it down someone's fucking throat, dude, that is not cool. Like, I get it. I fucking get it.
Uh-huh.
You want to be someone wants to be a social fucking justice warrior and be like, oh, that's not PC. You got to use these pronouns. I'm like, I'm not making fun of you guys. Like, for those people, I
Yeah.
respect you guys. But if you're like trying to get on someone's case because they won't conform immediately to your belief, like, dude, that is not cool. Like,
That's why
whoa.
it's so hard. It's so hard to be like an influencer nowadays because like so this is what I mentioned like a few months ago on like my streams. I was just like, look, I actually like the pronoun shit, right? Like and I'm talking about the people that are like there is a certain pronoun they would like to be addressed as, right? Like for
Yeah.
those who are like lesbian and they're like, well, I want to sooner or later like become like a transgender. So my pronouns, right, are he, him. And I'm like, okay, cool. I can fuck with that
Yeah.
because that's
Yeah.
what I like to be addressed with, right?
Right.
But understand, and I was like, but understand, and this goes for everybody, right? Like we are still learning. We are still learning boundaries. We are still learning like the correct way, quote unquote, like the socially correct way to do these things. And like some of my friends are telling me, because I'm friends with a lot of bisexual and lesbian girls, right? And they're like, yeah, well, I like to be let's see, addressed as like they them, right? And
Mm-hmm.
like people, there are memes about it. My friends are like, yeah, we fuck around with those jokes too. Like I don't really care. I just want you to know as like since you care about it, like this is how I want to be addressed. And I'm like, that's fucking dope. Like all the power to you, right? But
Mm-hmm.
it's those motherfuckers that are just like, "How dare you? I told you that I am like he, him," and it's just like not everybody is going to get that on the jump, right?
Yeah.
Like, someone will come up to you and you'll be like, "Oh, hey girl, how's it going? My pronouns are fucking he, him." Like,
Like,
and it's like, I am so fucking sorry. Like, I wanna be as respectful as I possibly can, but understand that, like, there are people that are still adjusting to those times, and we should be focusing on the people that are trying to adjust, trying to understand you, versus the people that are like, "Well, I don't give a fuck, you look like a girl to me." Like, I don't give 2 shits, like, "You look like a girl to me." Like, that those are the people that are ignorant and don't wanna adapt to change, and that's what a lot of the issue is, like, moving forward, like, around the like, I wanna say, like, around the States, because I can't really talk about the world. I think, a lot of people are kinda, like, either for it or against it, but, like, there is, like, a sense of those who are trying to understand, like, all of these changes that are or all of these, issues that are being brought to light, you know?
yeah, for sure, for sure. I think, um, okay, I want to bring up one point that I learned in like class, right? And like statistics and shit, right? Because I was
Mm.
a like an environmental sort of major. I was what was my major? Fucking geography. I was like, what the
Oh,
fuck's my
nice,
major?
nice.
So I deal with like a lot of environmental, and I deal with a lot of the social side, and it was like how to teach people about environmental issues. But the thing that I took away from that class, from that one specific class, was how to talk and educate others, right? And
Mhm.
like I said, how there's people that deal with extremes, right? There's five groups, right? And it's a spectrum. There's the extremes on both sides. Someone who agrees with you fully, and obviously the complete other side, someone who completes with you, disagrees with you completely. There's like that can range from anywhere, depending on the topic, from 5 to 15% on each side. So then the rest in the middle, right? The remaining um 60% or whatever in the middle is what you want to focus on and how you want to sway for a majority vote and how do you believe it. So if you deal with anyone on the extreme, there's no point. They're not going to change your mind. But if you can teach them in a way that'll help them get them more towards the center and towards the viewpoint that you want to, that's what's important. So that's just like a random class thing. Varies on every topic per person, obviously, but I just want to put that out there. And the reason I brought this up was like like you said, there's a lot of people that are still trying to learn, right? There's, like I said, majority of any population regarding anything is trying to learn about something, right? And to adjust them, you got to give them time, dude. It's like we just legalized fucking gay marriage like less than a decade ago, right? We're
Mm.
still trying to get through fucking Black Lives Matters that happened 3 years ago, right? there's
Yeah.
there's there's so many social issues. There's Ukraine just happened a year ago. Like there's so much things happening that people want to worry about, and people want to focus on their sole objective and their agenda, and they tunnel on that so hard that if you're getting mad at someone for not caring and not immediately being on the same page as you, I'm like, dude, that is not fair. You are not giving these people a chance. That is just not fair. That is my main point, is
Mhm.
if you believe in something and you want someone to join you in your cause, or at least agree with you in your beliefs in some form, or at least, and or not even that, at the very least find common ground for said beliefs, like you got to give people time, man. You cannot expect a fucking 12-hour turnover time for asking someone to call you the proper, or like 1 hour turnover time for someone to call you the proper pronoun that you just met on like fucking Twitch chat 10 minutes ago. Like, bro,
Yeah.
bro, like that is in some unrealistic expectations, dude. If you're in a
Mhm.
community that can do that, congratulations, you found a great community for yourself. But that is a very, very small minority, and and
Mhm.
and like, including, this is specifically towards my channel. And if you guys stay here, like, see, I'm even using the term you guys, I'm not even saying you all. If you guys
Yeah.
stick around this channel, from Cat's community or any community that sticks around here, and like, you guys, some of my friends in real life that I met online, you guys understand that for me, I'm accepting of people as long as you're not toxic. If you're toxic, get the fuck out of here, bro. But if you're cool, you're chill, you talk, you know, you're always welcome here, regardless of whatever your beliefs are, as long as you're not toxic about it. Because as long as we can have a conversation, that is what's most important to me. And that's why I have a podcast, so we can talk about the dumbest shit. Like this is like for
Yeah.
like this is a pretty serious topic, but I've had conversations where me and my friends were arguing about fucking using toilet paper versus a bidet for like 40 minutes. Like we've had
Okay,
the
a bidet is cleanly. It's more. It's. I want to say because it's the same thing as Filipinos. Our fucking tabo, right?
yeah,
Like we have
exactly.
our. I think it's healthier to use, and that's why all these Filipinos when the shortage came out, they're like, "Oh, bring out the fucking
The
tabo over
tabo,
here,"
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
like I mean, if you want to go into that, like I got into an argument for a good 30 minutes with someone who was fucking with me, and I didn't know they were fucking with me. I was just like, as long as you don't wipe from back to front, we're good. And they're like, wait, what's wrong with wiping from back to front? I was like, you got me fucked up. Let's
Yeah,
talk about it, okay?
dude, I made my other friends community explode asking him that question, dude. And shit was so funny.
Front to back. Front
Holy shit.
to back.
But yeah, crazy face. People don't like when their beliefs are challenged. Correct. I mean, if you're not open-minded, people will not like that. Chalky milk and salt and vinegar chips will go well together. I like
Well,
chalky milk, and I do like salt and vinegar chips. So I don't know.
those are like two completely different tastes. It's like people that are like cheese on pickles are the best, you know?
Wait, cheese,
Like,
cheese and pickles can go together. They go on a fucking burger. What?
oh yeah, but I was just saying, like, that's
Like,
just like, I'm talking about the people that like dip it in
oh,
the
oh, oh,
like,
oh, oh.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
like I'm not a pickle person,
Yeah, me
so
neither.
but I mean, I like the vibes of like how it's just going into flow of things. You're not like, okay, good, good, check. Anyways, my next question. I thought it was gonna be like a fucking interview. I was like, oh God. Like help. Send help.
All right. But I mean, trust me, it works. All right, right. All right. I don't have chalky milk at home, but I will try. I will try.
Nesquik.
That's good. No, I don't.
Nesquik.
I don't have any. My family stopped drinking. Fucking. I stopped drinking milk. But that's a different conversation. But
Hmm.
anyways, my it's been about an hour and a half. We'll go into a post podcast show for a little bit, but this is, I think, a good stopping point for the time being. And my closing thoughts for this episode: just respect people, dude. Respect people, and just don't snap at people if they don't agree with you. Just don't deal with them. Honestly,
Oh yes.
yeah, yeah. That's and everyone's always welcome here, and I appreciate your community coming out tonight, Kat. Really, really do.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I was just talking all about you in my Discord. I was just like, yeah, we gotta support everybody as much as you can. That's why we're here.
Yeah, very
That's why
nice.
I like when I'm on Kev Jumbo's page. I'm over here like, here's 5 gifted. Here's another 5 gifted. Here's more.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. But yeah, any last like lightning round questions, comments, shout outs, any plugs you want to do before we end the recording anyways?
Um. Well, obviously, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to get to know you more and allowing me to be on this podcast. It was a very fun time. Uh, I wanted to tell you that like I really like what you have going on, and I hope that your community grows and flourishes. So I look forward to like seeing more of your content in the future.
Oh, thank you, thank you. My content has gone significantly down. When you said you content created, I used to do YouTube videos for fun.
Hmm.
Had less and less time to edit, even though I was getting slightly better at editing videos and stuff like that. But I'm just like, dude, I'm just gonna focus more on streaming and not edit shit anymore. So I'm just like, thank you, I
Yeah,
appreciate that. I hope
it takes a
to
long
grow.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like it takes some time and people need to understand that like when you're a content creator, whether it's on Twitch or YouTube or both, like it takes a really long time, especially if
Right.
you're starting out. So like editing your own videos, like advertising your own streams, and then like this overlay you got going on, like even though you said it's not that much, like you put a lot of effort into like making it aesthetically pleasing. Like it takes a long time and like people like to take breaks and stuff like that. But what I do enjoy about like your Twitch streams and stuff is like you're not really giving up. you're still pushing through and you're trying to reach out to people and yeah, I vibe with you. So I
Nice.
mean everything I say.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And speaking of things that don't give up, although I don't have podcasts every single week, I try to if I can find the proper guests to be on here. And one announcement before I end this episode, just so it goes in the YouTube video. Check out the YouTube. It's on my banner below. Same thing. I am Neon Gaming. You can find it on YouTube if you guys are new. If you want to rewatch this episode or any other episode that I posted, the 5-year anniversary of the podcast is going to be in 2 weeks. We're going to do it on Thursday. And we also got challenged by some of my VIPs with their 100k points, channel points, that we will be doing both the level 10. Oh, Ray, thank you for the follow. We're going to be doing the level 10 Coco Ichibanya curry challenge as well as the ×2 ramen challenge on the same
Ooh.
stream for that podcast in 2 weeks. So be on the lookout for that. Next week we'll try to have another podcast, but in 2 weeks on a Thursday, August 4th, I believe. Yes, August 4th, we're going to be doing that. My guest will also be doing the 2 times ramen challenge in solidarity with me. So it's going to be a lot of content of us trying to talk smack while mouths are getting smacked with heat. So be on
Oh
the
god.
be on the lookout for that. And it's gonna be a good time while I attempt to do Man's Not Hot all at the same time. But anyways, thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for stopping by. We are gonna have a post podcast show. If you're watching on YouTube, good job. You watched all the way through. I love your face. But with that,
Wonderful.
yeah. But we'll be here for a little bit longer, and I'm gonna show Kat this Chinese beef broth video thing and whatever we else bring up. Fucking I don't know. But well, everyone say bye, YouTube.
Bye bye YouTube.